Hey, it's just come up on my screen. We are live. Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever it may be for you, wherever you are in this wonderful world. And welcome to the Photo Creative Night Lights Challenge live feedback session, where we're going to have a little think about a couple of things to do with photography, as well as have a look at your images. If you're not sure what Photo Creative is, you haven't been here before, have a look in the description below. You'll find a link. Go and have a look at the web page. Go and check it out. Find out all about it. Come and join in the challenges, because it's a great workout for your camera skills, but also your creativity skills and your photography thinking skills. So, hello all you lovely people. It is good to see you talking about the weather, which I thought was uniquely English. So, hello Susan Firth, Fiona Campbell, Jane Barnes, Julia, Elve, our friend who loves street photography, Robert, David Clifton, another Robert, Helen Martin, Beverly Devine, Jamie, hello Jamie, Wendy, Peter Schmidt, good to see you, Mr. Schmidt, out there in Switzerland. Good to see you all, guys. Appreciate you all. If you do me one huge massive favour and hit that like button, it would really be appreciated. It just helps people to find this, helps keep our photo creative going. And that is a big part of what sort of keeps my little business going, really. If you get value from these challenges and the feedback sessions and the community, lovely community we got there, small donation is always appreciated to help cover the costs for the time I spend on it, my PA Emmeline spends on things, just to sort of keep it going. It's not expected, but it is appreciated if you'd like to do that. So, I hope everybody is well and happy. Sorry, Lorraine, I don't know why I'm echoing. Am I echoing for anybody else? I shouldn't be. Just say yes or no in the chat. It's good to know, and then I can fix it. No. Okay. Good. Love the way you guys help out. It's brilliant. What a lovely community. Really do appreciate you all. So, very interesting to see some of the images, because it's not necessarily an easy challenge, but I thought we'd go with the night light things because, hey, it's always night somewhere. You can usually find some lights, particularly over the last month with all the Christmas celebrations going on all over the place. So I figured it'd be a good one. You came up with some really interesting ideas, which we will go through in a moment. Now, light is, as I say often, the most important thing in photography. Your camera is just a tool, it's just a thing, right? How you use it is what makes interesting images, and understanding light is the number one most important thing. Yeah, of course you've got to know how to use it. Look, all there is on a camera that you need is maybe 5 controls, okay? Fully understanding shutter speed and aperture as exposure controls and creative controls. So they've both got creative superpowers which do different things to your picture. Understanding your ISO, because you may set an exposure for creative reasons using shutter and aperture, but it won't necessarily be the correct exposure. That's why you have an ISO, so that you can make it the correct exposure. Yeah? Understanding focal lengths, because they are very creative. They do more than just make far off things come closer or cram more into a picture. They alter, you can use them to alter the mood, feel, and so much more of an image. Focal length and best friends. Focal length is best mates with composition. Thank you so much, Don. Really appreciate that, my friend. And then finally, I would say your autofocus modes and settings. They're different on all cameras, but cameras now have extraordinarily good autofocus modes and settings. All you've got to do is understand what they do and how to use them for different situations. You are taking a shot of, I don't know, someone or something coming towards the camera. You need to be able to quickly know which mode to set. Yeah? You want a tracking mode. Some cameras can track a car or a face or an animal or a whatever. Some will do that, some won't. But pretty much all will have a continuous tracking mode, which will keep something in focus. So you can concentrate on composition and all that other creative good stuff while the camera manages the focus. Understand those autofocus settings. That's all you need to know. Sure, there's a few other features which are useful, handy. I'd say there's probably 4 or 5 features which I would say are very useful. There's maybe another 4 or 5 after that which you may like depending on how you wish to use your camera. And that's all there is. The rest of it is how you use it. That's all there is to know. Upgrading your camera will never give you better pictures. Upgrading you will. That's all part of these challenges, you know. It's a way for you to go and practice, because practice makes perfect. Now, sticking with this light theme and exposure, don't mistake qualities of light for quantity of light. They're two very, very different things. Let me have a little look here, because I've got something I want to have a little talk to you about first. And I am going to be looking at one of your images to begin with, because I think it's a cracking image. So you want to get dwelt on. Brandon Cook, because I really like this shot, okay, and I want to use it to explain something. I like the lights. I like the way that you got rain or sleet or something just catching the lights, which is great. Now, in my opinion, and this is where the tricky bit comes in, because it's opinion. You are the creative force behind your camera. And I'm talking to everyone here, not just Brandon. You are the creative force, not your camera, which is why it's so important to understand the relationship between your shutter and aperture and ISO for exposure, but also light qualities. Because sometimes cameras don't necessarily give you the best option. And in my opinion, you may disagree. If you're here, Brandon, I'd love to see you give me a wave in the chat, because we can talk. I think this is a cracking shot, but personally, I think it would work better. Let me just change something on my settings here so it will change quickly. Here we go. I just think it would look better if it was a bit darker. Now, you may have set exactly the exposure the camera wants, but watch what happens. Look, if I just take that exposure down a bit, it's still doing that smooth change, which is really annoying. I've just asked it to just do a jump cut. Let's see if we can try that again, because it's difficult to tell when it fades. That's better. Okay, if we take that exposure down, watch. See? I just think it gives it a little bit more punch, but we've still got those lovely pools of light. We've still got all that good stuff going on. You take the exposure down just a touch more, I think it gives it a little more punch. And because the rest of the shot is darker, it makes the light stand out a little bit more. Now, it is entirely probable, or possible, I don't know, that Brandon, you set the exposure according to the light meter, whether you did that through a semi-auto mode or an auto mode or an aperture mode or a shutter, I don't know. Maybe you just set it manually but looked at the light meter. The thing is, there's times you've got to argue with the light meter because the camera doesn't know. All the camera knows is that it has been told the entire world is this, mid-grey. It takes all the tones in any scene or composition that you make, and it then turns it into black and white in its own mind, and then mixes all those different shades of black, white, and all the greys in between, stirs them up like they're a pot of paint, and then it will set the exposure to an average, which is this, mid-grey. Also called 18% grey. Don't know why it's called that. I just Googled it before we went live and I didn't understand the answer. However, it thinks that the world is this tone. But if your shot isn't this tone, or you don't want it to be this tone, you may have to argue with the light meter. And the light meter might say, that is perfect, that is correct. It may say, you're underexposing. It may jump up and down and shout and scream at you and go, you're really underexposing. But you're the creative driver. Alan Reese was taking the picture at 6 o'clock. Alan, are you Brandon Cook? Because people use different names. Do tell me if that is you, Alan, if you are Brandon. I don't know. People use different names. Anyway, now it could be a creative decision to have the shot like this. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. I just thought this was a great example of an image which, you know, can be changed. To not changed, but moved around according to your creative taste. And it's all about using shutter, aperture, exposure controls, and maybe arguing with the light meter in your camera in whatever way. Now look, let me show you a couple of other things, because I've been doing this recently. I was on a photo workshop recce in Madeira I think I came back about 10 days ago, something like that. Now look, bunch of bananas. Now it's okay, it's quite nice. This is the exposure the camera wanted to make, but I just thought it would look more interesting if I made the exposure more for the brighter area. If I decided that, look camera, I want the mid-grey bit to be on the bananas, not an average of the whole picture. And so we get that, which I think I prefer. Well, I don't think I know I prefer. You may prefer the other one, which is completely fine, out of interest. Who prefers the bright one? Just say me in the chat, because it'd be interesting to know, please. Just stick a me. You don't have to do anything if you don't. And while you're doing that, I will respond to Hervé. Yeah, it is a difficult choice. Make it more punchy and pop, or make it more dreamy. You know, everyone has different tastes. So some are saying the bright one, some are saying the dark one. And it is a choice. I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. I'm just making sure you think about these things when you go to take a shot, because just because the camera says that's right doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Okay, so most of you prefer the darker one. Yeah, I generally prefer my pictures to be on the lighter side, but anyway, so there we go, there's the darker one. Here it is again, same sort of thing, okay? Now in this case, what are the qualities of light? So we've got all the, I'm up in the mountains, there's all this cloud bobbling around, as you can see. Now what's happening here is there's a bit of fairly harsh direct light coming through a gap in the clouds. Now you see these moving around on the water, on the landscape and all this sort of thing. In this case I waited until one of those pools of light just hit those few little rocks in the mist there. So this is the exposure the camera wanted to set. I argued with it and just went darker, because I just feel it works for this shot because it's a little bit more moody and it kind of helps those little pinnacles there stand out. Exactly the same technique. The qualities of light, hard direct light, when it comes through a hole in the clouds. If you've done the 7 building blocks photography, you will know what I call them. Exactly, Orion. It forces the viewer to look. You know what the picture is about. So here's another one. It's just one of those little pools of light. It's not on the rocks and the mountain behind. It's just kissing the side of that hill where those little terraces are. But most of the light is just highlighting those trees. You've got to move fast because this light doesn't hang around for very long. You often have to move pretty quickly. But it's not just in landscapes either. I was looking around a very traditional little homestead on Madeira and met this family. They're wonderful people. Now, there's a reason why she's standing there. What is that? Stick it in the chat, please. You should know. I'm banging on about it a lot. You stick it in the chat. I'm going to have a swig of water. Why did I say, Adelaide, can you stand here, please? Yes, Peter, I told her. You are correct, my friend. But there's a reason I told her. Now, lots of you are saying framing. The framing, yes, but that's not the main reason. Look at the light. Look at that little highlight that's on the wall. I haven't burnt in the edges of the picture in post-production or anything like that. Shame I haven't got my Lightroom there. I could prove it. Exactly, Jules, because the light hit her at the right angle. Bang on. Bingo. If you smoked, I'd give you a cigar. Exactly that. The light was coming through the doorway behind me, and for whatever reason, probably because I'm blocking part of that little doorway, it's just got that one little area of brightness within the image which just happened to coincide great with her face and then sort of go up the wall a bit. So yes, there is the framing aspect of the doorway, but that was just one of those little lucky bonuses. The main reason is because the light on her face would make her really stand out. And it was really, look, it's really only just sort of kissing the top of a cardigan and her face before it goes across the wall. It's not like on all of her. This is what's meant by qualities of light, recognizing qualities of light and then using them. And qualities of light are really important, and they're not that complicated. I know people go, I don't understand them. They really are quite simple. Look, here's what we've just been talking about. Bit of light coming through a blue hole somewhere, and it's lighting up a little part of the scene. It's picking up on those terraces and that little stone hut sitting on the side of a mountain. It looks really pretty. Now, wait only a moment or two, because those pools of light move. Exactly the same scene just a few moments later looks like that. Different light. This is the impact light has. This is why it's so important to understand light, and also why it's so important to understand how to be effective with your 5 camera controls and the 3 or 4 features. Because if you're thinking, now hang on, do I want a shutter or an aperture? Now hang on, if I change the shutter speed, will it affect the white balance and all that stuff? You're missing the really cool stuff, because your brain's taken up with techie things instead of doing the creative stuff. That's where the two balance out. But hey, anyway, enough of all that old nonsense. I hope you found that useful. It is one of those things which you just got to get your head around. Obviously, my workshops and online courses and stuff, it's all there to help you do that, and it'll cost you a hell of a lot less than going out and buying a whole bunch of new cameras hoping you'll get better pictures. So I hope you found that useful. Now I'm just going to change my thing so that we get some smooth transitions, I hope, and get my screen set up so that we can have a look at your pictures, your images, because there's some great ideas. Now, whatever feedback I give is intended to try and help the group as a whole. I know there was some muttering somewhere. People said, oh, you only talk about your friends who are in the paid for group. Not true. I actually try and avoid them because they are in the paid for group. But there are times when I do. The images I choose to talk about, I talk about them because I think they are interesting, because I think whatever I say may benefit the group as a whole. It doesn't necessarily mean they're brilliant. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It just means that I'm going to say a few words about them because I think they will benefit the group as a whole. Thank you very much, RJG, for your kind words about my masterclass. Okay, so I think I can now share my screen properly. Here we go. You've no idea how much faffing it is moving things around on my screens to make this work. So, one more thing I need to change. There we go. Good. So what have we got going on here? We've got so many images, and some of them are absolutely cracking. They really are, and there's some really good creative ideas. Who have we got here? Bob. Hello, Bob. A beacon on a cold winter's night. It is indeed, my friend. I think it's quite strong. Do you know what I mean? And it is. Yeah, I quite like the way you've gone for that very strong sort of high contrast thing. But I just think you'd get more. You'd be able to say more about night light, plural, yeah, with a different scene. Also, maybe shooting a little earlier before it goes to full dark, because we've got a light on top of a pole. Yeah, you're kind of fulfilling the brief here, my friend. But when you look at it, would you go, yeah, that's a cracking picture? Now, we're all at different places on our journey, so please don't think I'm picking on you or having a go. But it's like, these are things we all have to think about. Not only is it about thinking, I'm going to photograph, I don't know, say, you know, a light at night. It's also thinking about, how can I make this interesting? Or indeed, is it interesting? This was a frustration I had last week when the workshop recce was just so stressful. And if you're signed up to my newsletter, you know, there's a story about that which we'll get in about an hour or two's time. Because of the pressure I was putting myself under, but also the number of times I'd see something and think, oh, I really like that. That's a really lovely scene. That's a really interesting thing. But I couldn't make a great photograph out of it. It was more like, yeah, it's okay, but I can't quite make it pop. Out of a whole week shooting, I think I have got 50 images that I think, yeah, I'm happy with that now. And that's a whole week of shooting. Going out at maybe 5:30 in the morning, some mornings probably not back till 8 o'clock at night for 7 days, pretty much. Apart from one day when lots of things went wrong. Festus, I'm assuming you're Bob Krause. Yeah, I think you are looking at profile pictures here. You were digging the tree shadow. Gotcha. But we can't see much of the shadow, my friend. So if it was the shadow that was attracting you, we've got this little bit of shadow down here. Maybe moving back, making more of the shadow with the light in the background. Does that make sense? I hope that helps. Let's move on a bit. Now, hello Denise Savage. Good fun photographing lightning, isn't it? Very hit and miss. And I like your fork of lightning. And good on you for capturing it. Depending on, of course, where you are within your journey, these things are difficult. And I love the thinking, by the way. What a different type of nightlight. Yeah? What fun. You know what I'm going to say though, don't you? There's a nasty electric wire and stuff going on in the way. Photographing lightning, it's really a good idea to go somewhere which works for the lightning. When I say that, what do I mean? I mean, you need to find somewhere, yeah, not out in the middle of a plane or something, you know. I saw you said something about being safe or something. But, you know, see if you can find somewhere where the lightning is going to strike above a forest or over the ocean with an island in it, or, I don't know, over a pond. You might get a reflection in the water, that sort of thing. Because you've done really well technically and you've caught a really nice bolt of lightning. The rest of the image isn't quite working to sort of bring your lightning bolt to life, if that makes sense. But good on you, Denise. Good on you. I remember the first time I managed to capture a bolt of lightning, I was so excited. I was so excited. And it was an image very similar to this one, actually. So, good on you. Let's ease down a little further. We have got some great ideas, I mean, and some interesting. What's going on here? Edgar, GC. Hello, Edgar. I like your idea, and you've got your exposure pretty good for the actual firework and the night lights. And I can see where you've had the shutter open for a little while, and you've got those lovely, like, little trails and things going on. I'm guessing this guy, the silhouette of the guy, he obviously must have moved at some point, and that's why you've got those things sort of going over the top of him. So if he was stood in one place and then he moved a bit during that exposure, he will have made a space for those light trails to no longer be blocked. Does that make sense? Those little sparks, they're leaving a trail of light. If he moved a bit, then most of the exposure he's in one place, and when he moved a bit, those light trails went over the top of where he was, and that's why they're overlapping. I saw a few questions about that. It's a nice shot. It's a nice shot, Edgar. Good idea, good take on night lights. My thoughts are, could you have moved back a bit? I know I say this a lot, but it's kind of like, going firework at full volume. It's about the creative bit, you know. It's well done for capturing the firework. Think about composition. Where is this firework display? What is going on with it? Is there a different way you could interpret it? Technically, very well done. Creatively, maybe a different angle, different position, something like that. Let's ease on. My scroll wheel still doesn't work. I have cleaned this out so many times. There are some lovely ideas here, you know, and some really beautiful pictures. I think Sal Shaff. Hello, Sal Shaff. I don't think we've met. Now, when I see this small, I think, oh, that's really pretty. But when I bring it up onto the screen, look at it a little bit bigger, it's a shame it's all kind of falling apart, because I really like your idea. You've got backlight coming from somewhere during, I guess it's a snowstorm. And so, although we've got lights, we're not actually seeing the lights. And I quite like that idea. It's quite subtle. I'm going to guess you shot this on a phone. If you're here, do tell me. I'm going to guess you shot that on a phone. And it's a shame it's kind of falling apart. If it was on a phone, I guess maybe it was an older phone, I don't know. But it looks like it struggled quite hard to get enough light to get the exposure, which is a shame that it's all kind of falling apart a bit, because I think it's a great idea and I like your composition. We don't need to see the whole tree to know that there's a tree there. We don't need to see the light itself, in this case, because all the snow and all that stuff is picking it up, and this brighter area at the top of the screen is telling us in no uncertain terms there's a light here. It's a very nice composition, and it's also giving us a little story about what's going on. So I kind of like that one. I think it's nice work. Has anyone got any questions about that? Because, okay, technically it's not great, it's a bit falling aparty, but it's the creative side in this case which I think works very, very well in this case. You got a question, chuck it in the chat. I will keep half an eye on it as we have a little scroll through. No. Hello, Julia Bevan. You see, it's another similar kind of an idea going on here. Okay, I'm going to jump back because, Julia, I'm coming back to you because we've got a question. Fleetfoot says, what do you mean by falling apart? If we look at this image, do you see how it's sort of clumped up? Look, it's very fuzzy edged. When I say it's falling apart, I mean it's pixelated. It isn't clean, it isn't sharp. Nothing is clearly defined within the image. Am I explaining this well? If anyone else has got a better way of explaining it. But by falling apart, what I mean is, yeah, it's very blocked up. There aren't many tones. You can see that the resolution is pretty poor. So that's what I mean by that one. Where's Julia's picture? Here we go, and come back. No worries, Fleetfoot. My pleasure, sir. Oh, you got another name as well, Julia. Julia Avocetta and Julia Bevan. I can't get my head around you guys who use different names all the time. Anyway, right, Julia Bevan. I really like it because you've got this lovely little pool of light going on here, and it is drawing us to the picture. Remember what we were talking about earlier with the pools of light on the hillside and how that works. So you've got the same sort of thing here. The street light is there, We've also got the lovely light on the wall, which is coming from it. We've got the light in the window, and yeah, you've got the car lights too. And I quite like the fact the car's moving a little bit, because if it was stationary, the lights, I think it would be too strong. Something to watch, folks. Look, Julia has put this together really quite carefully because everything is nicely lined up. Look at these shadows. They're really nice shadows, but they're vertical, they're clean, they're upright. Same with the road. It's like the horizon is level and everything is lining up. The street lamp is lining up. And the light, of course, is being picked up by the snow. So it's only just lights plural, but hey, the other thing, look at the sky, blue. So it's at twilight. I don't know why they call it golden hour or whatever it is, because it's not. It's about 10 minutes and it's blue. Yeah, I'd agree, Fleetfoot. Yeah, you know, there's just lots of little things, you know, the footpath curving away. But, you know, the main thing is how you've taken those ingredients and just put them together really rather nicely and used the snow to bring out the lights. It was at dawn. Okay. Yep. Either end of the dark bit works well. So another kind of, I don't know, there's so many. Who's this? Diane Harper. Hello, Diane Harper. Certainly creative. I'm interested by the little ringlets you have got going on up through the image. I wonder what's causing those. Is that like a little bit of lens flare happening somewhere? They work. I'm not saying they're bad, wicked and wrong. They do work. Yeah, you could have a point there, Orion. It could be droplets of mist. That's something I had such trouble with on Madeira. There's one place I was which really needs to be shot in foggy, misty conditions, but it was raining as well. And it's like every 30 seconds I'm taking the camera out of my coat with my back to the rain, cleaning the lens, getting everything ready, turning around and going click as quick as I could, trying to get a shot without raindrops all over the glass. Water droplets. Things we like. I like the way your pole or whatever it is just kind of going off to the right, yeah? It's not going straight up in the middle. You've got a creative thing going on there. The little ringlets are adding to it. Whether that is something you noticed and kind of exploited or not, I don't know, but I would still say it works rather well. Okay, we got a suggestion from Beryl Franklin. Let's crop out the tree. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to use my phone case as my crop tool. Close one eye and just take it up to there. Okay. What do you think, guys? Tree or no tree? Pop it in the chat. What do you think? I know what I think. Tree or no tree? Pop it in the chat. And don't be shy. Jump on in, guys. Come on. This is your thing. Come on now. I know there's more than about 5 of you. Okay. I'm just going to wait while you do it, because I'm in no hurry. Yeah, so what do we got? It's probably about a 50-50. Michelle R, I tend to agree with you. I have no problem with the tree. Actually, I quite like the tree. I think it helps add a dynamic. Because, well, Michelle just said, when you take the tree away, you've just got a pole and nothing else. And it doesn't give it context. But by keeping the tree in there, it does. So, I like your idea. How could it be improved? I'm not sure. I think it could use a little bit more contrast or something, Diane. Whether it would be possible to revisit at a slightly earlier time so that, yeah, you've got wonderful lights going on, but it's like, so the sky isn't quite so dark. This is me being my coach, yeah? Being your coach. Helen's only just seen the tree. Yep. Interesting comments. Agreed, RJG. It's those little circles which make it for me as well. If it was only the highlights on the, the lights on the actual pole, I don't think it would work quite so well. I hope that was of some use to you guys, but I think it's quite a creative image. Could do with a bit more contrast, maybe shooting a little earlier, so you've got a bit of clean blue. Hervé, that's not very nice, my friend. So what else? Oh, I must get this. I must take this mouse apart and clean the scroll wheel again. Here. What else? Okay, Jamie. Now I know Jamie well. He is a very good photographer. I'm going to keep it brief, my friend. I think I saw you here earlier. Lovely pool of light. Jamie's used a great pool of light here. We've been talking about light, pool of light coming from the fish and chip van. Yeah, it's in a dark street at night. Okay, fair enough. There's no other lights going on, which is good. It doesn't distract, but we've got a lovely pool of light with lots of lights going on. My only thing I would say, Jamie, is about decisive moments, because the two people who are getting their chips or whatever, they're not terribly engaged. I don't know how many other shots you took. Knowing you probably took several others. And I've got my coach's hat on here, and I'm being hard on Jamie because he's good at it, so he can take the kick. It's like if they were walking away, or maybe if they happened at some point to stand shoulder to shoulder, or somebody reached over his shoulder and nicked another one's chip, or someone's handing them something out of the chip van, those sorts of things. Because all your technical stuff, all your composition, yeah, that's all lovely. You know what you're doing with that anyway. But yeah, just little things like watching the behavioural thing. Maybe there wasn't another, okay, you took a few, but you were walking back to get home and you couldn't stop. And I like the word, we were walking back. And this is, of course, one of those things. The best photographs usually happen when we're on our own, because we don't feel we're holding someone else up and all that stuff. But I totally get it, Jamie. Totally get it. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because like me, I think you would have just hung around there for a little bit longer just to see what you could get out of it. Bjorn. Hello, my friend. Gizmo and Bonzo. I'm sorry to hear you lost your guinea pigs. Okay, so you've made a nice little tribute shot. Technically, you've done it well. The exposure's pretty good. Everything's nice and sharp. I like the fact there's a little bit of something blue, a little bit of evening light coming through the trees and the twigs, etc. Sorry, I've just seen Jamie say he was with Stephen Laws. So Stephen, it's your fault. Definitely your fault. You should have both waited. I like the way you've shot this with a wide angle lens. Bjorn shot this with a wide angle lens and was very, very close to the Gizmo and Bonzo nightlight thing. How can we tell? Just because of the way things are working, this wasn't shot from further back. I'm pretty sure if you're here, Bjorn, do by all means tell me if I'm wrong. The exposure's spot on. How could it be improved? I don't know. The thing is, you're like holding a light, aren't you, for your guinea pigs? I would like to see a little bit more light in going on around this side. I'm not sure where the edge of the image is. I don't think you can necessarily increase exposure in camera, but I'm wondering whether or not you could have just thrown a little bit of light in there, perhaps. Maybe used a smaller aperture with a longer exposure, and then you could have possibly got your phone with a torch or something. Just painted a little bit of light in there. I think it would have given it just a little bit of a lift. Completely agree, Festus. I love the leaf colours as well. Oh, for goodness sake, come on, scroll. Here's one. Who's this? Andrew Muller. Hey Andrew, I don't think we've met. Welcome. I like this one. it's a good creative use of that night lights thing. Andrew, good to see you. It's a good creative use of this the whole night lights theme, and I like the way you kind of. Ah, great, you're here. Is this intentional camera movement? Did you do this on a tripod? You open the, it's ICM on a tripod. You open the shutter, turn the tripod head, and the shutter closed. Is this how you did it? I'm intrigued to know, because they're lovely, level, even. Yes, okay, tripod with horizontal movement, got it. My next question, because you're super fast at replying, is, was there any reason, anything to stop you from doing it in the other direction? So that instead of you had your shot and you panned to the right, I think. Yeah, you panned to the right. Is there anything that stops you going the other way? And the reason being, whilst I like that, your reindeer's going backwards, which I'm personally a little uncomfortable with. If you could have panned the other way, got it, it would have been going forward. So you're saying, right, there were distracting lights in the other direction. Okay, that's a fair comment. Technically, really well done. Set a longish exposure, camera on tripod, trying to figure out how to sort of keep those lines level and just turning the tripod head during the exposure very carefully. Well done. Susan just asked, could you flip it in post? No, because it's the direction of the lights. Yes, you can flip the image, but it will just be a mirror image, so but it will still appear to be moving backwards. But that's about all. Anyway, nicely done, Andrew. Nice idea. I now understand why it didn't work the other way. Where are we? Okay, we're not... Crumbs. There weren't quite so many entries this time. Hervé! Crazy street photographer friend. You ain't gonna love me, are you? Okay, so it's night and it's lights. Having seen quite a few of your images, because you are a prolific poster of images within the photo creative group, I have to say I wouldn't have picked this and said this was an Hervé shot. To me it's okay, but it's a gas station with two people walking up to it. You've got a hell of a lot of space down the bottom there. And forgive me, you're better than that. So maybe it's just one you shot and thought, yeah, I can chuck it in there because you hadn't had a chance to do something else. And I'm not knocking, you know, yeah, technically it's all spot on and all the rest of it. You've got two people holding hands. Maybe you love it. In which case, right now you're thinking about punching my lights out. That's just the way it is. This one isn't necessarily exciting me, having seen a lot of your other work. Is there anything wrong with it? No. For people listening other than Hervé, is there anything wrong with it? No. I am in my head comparing to other things that I have seen this photographer do. Before anyone says anything, no, he's not in my paid for mental group. Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that one. Next time you find me when we're out on a workshop, you can thump me. That's it. Who's this? David De Genova. I think this is quite good fun. So how did David create the starbursts? Come on, somebody chuck it in the chat, please. Exactly, Orion. Hervé does some spectacular work, and I didn't feel that one was up to your usual spectacular standard. Yeah, here we go. People are putting in, how do you make the starbursts? You use a small aperture, part of what we were talking about before. One of the creative superpowers that the aperture has, besides being an exposure control. So a small aperture. So David has shot this, I'm going to guess, on a tripod to keep it all still, because with a small aperture you're going to have a long exposure. So I like the way you thought about it. My only thing I'm going to say, David, is I kind of like it. It was just shot a little bit too late if it was done in the evening, or too early if it was done in the morning. Because I think you've got a lovely glow, you've got a lovely pool of light going on down here, but there's something in the background. It would just be nice if we had a bit of blue going on behind it. I think it would help your lights quite a lot. There was one particular picture I wanted to talk about. I'm hoping I haven't gone past it yet. David Clifton. Hello, David Clifton. Great moody sort of a thing. Try it with them without a star filter. And that's another way you can get the starbursts, is with a star filter. I like what you're thinking. You know, using the railway track. So are you standing in the middle of the railway line? Because I think I saw that you were here. I like the way you've thought about where to stand. So you are in, you know, where the tracks are moving. This is one of those things which it's not David's fault in any way. You've got the great exposure, you've got the misty atmospheric thing. I think you could have done without quite so much foreground, which you could have done by bending your knees. If you move closer, you lose where those rail tracks cross. Level crossing. Hello, David. David, all I'm going to say is maybe bend your knees a little. You know, don't say they creak. I know you. Bend your knees a little, because then this gap through here would reduce. So it would bring these closer to the train. Now this is one of those shots that some years ago, of course, would work brilliantly, you know, or on a classic railway or something, because you'd have something there bellowing steam and smoke, and it would kind of really be atmospheric rather than an electric train. Not your fault, my friend. Technically, absolutely spot on. My only thing would be bend your knees a bit, because then you could have brought where these tracks cross up a little closer, just narrowed that gap. Harsh criticism, not much else I can say. And I'm glad you were on a level crossing and not trespassing, sir, because I wouldn't put that past you. David has been on a few workshops, and on one in particular we really did lose him for quite a long time because he wandered off. That's a lovely idea. Helen Martin. Obviously it's night, you've got the light on, unless it is a very dark room. I like the way you've used the chandelier, the shadows, light and shade. Remember, light is made up of shadows as well as light. It's all part of the same wonderful ingredient. So Helen, I really like your idea and the way you noticed the way the light is creating those shadows. What could you do to improve upon the image? I don't know. Somehow it just feels it's not quite... A bit more contrast would certainly help. A bit more contrast would certainly help. It just feels like it's not quite level. The other thing is, and maybe you did it this way on purpose, so you get those lines at the top here coming out. But another way possibly would be to get directly underneath the light, you know, lie down and look straight up. That could have been quite, you know, geometrically perfect, so symmetrical, and probably quite impressive. You're going to say you're in a hotel lobby or something, don't worry about it. You just tell people to step back while you get on and do it. I think you could do with a little bit more exposure, maybe a little bit more contrast. Lost Shepherd, you were just saying about David's railway. I'm not saying get rid of the cross in the tracks. Absolutely perfect. Keep them. Keep them in the composition. All I'm saying is the same composition shot from about 18 inches to 2 feet lower means that you'd keep the cross in the railway lines and the train. It just means the gap between the train and the cross in the tracks would be smaller. That's all I'm saying. Square crop directly under, says Martin Lacey. Yeah, I think that could work really quite well. Thank you for that one, Jane Barnes. 55 people watch, sorry, 93 watching, only 55 likes. So assuming some people are just, you know, they're tourists, they maybe come along, they clicked, they had a look and thought, who's this bloke? And they left. But yeah, if you haven't hit that like button, I would appreciate it, please. There are okay. Sandra Sim. Hello, Sandra. I think this one is really intriguing. This is a great use of doing the opposite of what I was saying. Now I was saying it'd be great to see a little bit of detail in the sky and a bit of light or something like that. And in this case, with the black and white, I think it works not to. But what we've got are all these different pools of light going on within it. We have got the contrast. So the lights of the stars of the show, lights, we've got the lights of the stars of the show. So Sandra, if you're here, did you use a small aperture or a star filter? I don't care. Star filter is just a clear filter that goes over the lens, and it's got like a diamond pattern etched across it, you know, right across, and where the lines meet it will create stars. If you're not here, it doesn't matter, but the thing is we've got this contrast. Sandra's got this very subtle leading line here. It's really easy to get carried away with leading lines. We've got the little pools of light, we've got this subtle little leading line, we've got just hints of brickwork coming back out of the shot. We've got hints of a building over here. F22, 30 seconds. Awesome. Agreed, David. Does look like a star filter, but Sandra didn't say anything, so just the F22 managed it. All lenses have different characteristics when it comes to making starbursts. That's all I can say. Some lenses do it more, some lenses do it less. I don't know the technical reasoning behind it. The light, and going back to Sandra's picture, light on the front of the garage, it's just kissing the fronts of the houses, the garages, the workshops and all the rest of it. But it is a lonely street, and the stars are the star of the show. The lights and the stars are the stars of the show. So for me, in this case, it works well. And this is the difficult thing. If you don't understand the use of the camera, if you're still struggling with that, you can't give yourself thought to, okay, how do I need to shoot this so I get the contrast, so I get the composition, so I get all these other things. And that's just one of those things. Michelle says, Mike, Sandra has replied. Sorry, Mike, Sandra has replied to... missed something. Sorry, I'm not sure what Sandra has replied to. Okay, there are some great shots here. I love the frozen bubble, Heather, Jonathan, the window. But I am going to move on. Then there's one shot in particular I did want to... I like Susie Natman's windows. That I thought was a good idea. I think that's fun. Does anyone know what it is? Can anyone see? Anyone recognise what it is? It took me a minute or two. You wrote it in the description, so what I just said is pointless because I'm someone who rarely reads the descriptions. Exactly, Fiona Campbell. It's a car headlight. I did have to look at it a few times, and yeah, it is a bit of an astronaut's helmet. Good fun picture. Right, let's just move out here because there is something here I did want to just quickly say something about, if I can find this particular picture. That's a lovely, you got two names, you got about 5 names, haven't you? You're Jules. Lovely use of the fog, Jules. Fog and lights, mist and lights, they do work very, very well. And I particularly like the way this very bright light is just coming up over the back of this little building here and the lighthouse. So Jules has chosen a good moment to shoot, you know, watching where the beams of light are in the lighthouse. This is all connected to what we were saying earlier. If you're thinking too much about your camera and settings and things like that, you're going to miss moments like, okay, we've got a lovely triangular shape with the beams of light coming from the lighthouse. We've got that beautiful beam of light there. Knowing kind of what exposure is likely to work best for the shot that you're taking. Great use of mistiness. Okay, the beams are static and don't move around. You've got a frozen lighthouse there. Look at that, you see. There's me praising you up for choosing the decisive moment, and there wasn't one. Never mind. I hope you get the gist. And the reason I'm pointing those things out was just to try and help you guys that are struggling with that a bit. Here's one. Ian Robb. Hello, Ian Robb. Now, you all know I love an excavator. The only thing I'm going to say, really, Rob, is I get you want to work with the lights, but this looks to me like you've had it in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever and done some editing. But I just think you've gone way too far. Reason why? I'm looking at the lights. I don't know if you're here, Ian. If you are, give us a wave. But I'm just looking at the lights on the digger. They're grey. That tells me that you have had your highlight slider and pulled it all the way down to try and stop the highlights burning out. But highlights burn out. When you're looking straight at a really powerful light, with your eyes, they burn out. Now, there is this myth going on around the internet and the self-proclaimed professors of photography and keyboard warriors that you must never burn out the highlights. It's total arse water of the worst kind. You know, next time you look at a digger working in twilight or at night, or car headlights coming down the road, or street lights in an industrial estate or high street, you will notice that those lights are burnt out to your eye. Same as when you look at the sun, they're burnt out. So, you know, it's actually quite a nice composition. I know I rather like a digger, but it's actually quite a nice composition, just the way you got this little hump of ground here and all that stuff and the lights on. But I think the shadow should come up a bit, and also don't worry about bright highlights burning out. Sorry, Wendy, I'm glad I made you laugh. I'll see if I can use that phrase when I do your daughter's wedding in the not too distant future. So guys, there's some really nice images you've got here. You've really put some work into it. Marcus, what can I say? Some of the most famous night lights on the planet. And we have of course been lucky and had a plethora of these. There's nothing I can say apart from to make it large and to show everybody, because it's a lovely picture of the Northern Lights. But I also like the fact that it's not just the Northern Lights. It is also, there's something going on. You know, Marcus has stood in the road to get a line leading up to what is, I'm going to guess, I don't know, house, buildings, hotel, somewhere. People often go, oh, Northern Lights, and go click, click, click. I know none of you would do that because you're way beyond that point. But yeah, it's just including something. It's a landscape with the Northern Lights in it, or you can have a cityscape with the Northern Lights in it, or a house, or a whatever with the Northern Lights in it. Nicely done, sir. Which one was too dark, are they? Anyway, I'm just going to roll slowly up here because I can't talk about everyone's pictures, but there are some really great ones. I'm going to talk about that one. Who's that? Sasha John. Hello, Sasha. I quite like this because look, we've only got the one light, but it's about the pool of light that is going on underneath it. And it kind of works. My thing for you on this one, Sasha, is I don't think you need quite so much in this case, because it almost works as a vertical. If you sort of crop it off, you see where this first billboard sign thing is through there. If you sort of take it off through there with your hand or your whatever mobile crop device is, I'm going to take it off about 2 or 3 windows from the left as well. What do you think? What do you think, people? It's a goat farm. Brilliant. The Northern Light shots, goat farm. Not this. Not Marco. Not Sasha. Yeah, I don't think in this case, and I know it's so difficult, you think Browne, in one instance you're saying give it more space to breathe, and then the next minute you're saying crop into it. I know. But hey, it's just my opinion. I'm just a guy sitting in a room talking to his computer and hoping someone's listening. Luckily, you lovely folks are. Yeah, I just think it doesn't need quite so much. I think it works to keep just that one shiny square in. Why just the one? Because if that's in the bottom right corner, it's balancing the bright light, and then it's quite a nice shot. You've got the bright light top left and then the not so bright square at the bottom, so a viewer knows which one to look at. If they were both of the same brightness, it would be really annoying. So those are things as well for you to look at when you go out shooting, you know, something to keep an eye on as you go. Okay, let me do a new sort out the screen thing. Here we go. Lost Shepherd says less is more. Sometimes it is, I totally agree. Sometimes more is less, if that makes sense. So let's have a look at the pictures which I liked the most. What's going on here? I've got something not quite working here. Okay, that should not be there, forgive me. Let me just... That's better. Right, sorry about that. Okay, right, I've got my screen sorted. Sharon Miller, we were just killing time till you got here. Honest, you haven't missed a thing. So, I rather love this one from Dina. You know, you've thought about it. Okay, so you know, you've positioned your lamp, your lantern, but you've got a lovely pool of light. One of the things that I think makes it work is the pool of light is falling on that slate, that stone. But then beyond in the distance, there's a little bit of something going on. We've almost got a stormy, moody sky. And then there's lights from a town or a settlement or something in the distance, and that little bit of brightness going on in the sky, which is showing up those little silhouettes of the trees. So whilst the light is perfectly sharp, the fact that it's red, that also helps. I just think it's a really nice picture, and it's certainly night lights, you know. We've got someone, what was it you said? You said something about taking a walk around town by lantern light. I'd love to know if you were actually walking around town swinging a lantern. That would be such fun. Oh, Lisa, what am I going to do with you guys? Never mind. Thank you for coming regardless. So that's what I liked about this shot. Technically, it's all very spot on. We've got exactly the right amount of depth of field, so we're looking directly at the red lamp and that beautiful light. It's like light is the brightest bit. We tend to look at that first. Then we fall down onto the textures of the slate, but also the composition is allowing for a little bit of space so we can see something that's going on in the background. We've got some hint of what is going on there. Nice work, Dina. Then we have a lovely evening street scene from Alan Baxter. And this is one of those ones where I'm going to guess, Alan, you argued with your light meter because you've kept that dark, moody street scene. But we've got lots of little lights. I love the fact there's different coloured lights. We've got the blue light going on in the background. We've got that lovely lantern light hanging outside a building. You've got those sort of Christmassy things going on. And then the red lights on the table and the lights in the doorway. Well spotted, but also very well executed. Composition is very carefully put together. The verticals are upright. Everything all lines up. Hello, Alan. Yeah, exactly what you just said, Fleetfoot. It makes you want to be there. It kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew Bell. Now, I'm the one who usually says, wouldn't it be great if there was someone walking down the street? Usually I'd say that, but I think this one works fine and stands totally well on its own, because I think the person walking down the street is substituted for the red lights. The red lights are substituting that. Lovely image, beautifully done. This one, I thought this was a great use of night lights. Annika Rose Clifton, I don't think we have met before. I think it says you took it on a phone. I don't have a problem with that. I just think, I love the way you spotted these lights. The way the shafts of light are working, the background lights, it's at twilight, we've got that little bit of detail, we've got all those stadium lights going on, and obviously there's just enough mistiness in the air that it's just sort of, do you know what I mean? We're seeing the actual rays and beams. The position of your model of whoever this is just right, at just the right angle, looking up. I like the hat, the shadow. I think it's a really great shot. Now, yes, that brings me on to what you were just saying, Jules, because I did see that in the comments. So it was taken by your friend Elizabeth Kelly. So sorry, Elizabeth Kelly gets the credit here. Unfortunately, she doesn't use Facebook, but she will be watching the live. So Elizabeth, what I need to say is I'm really sorry. I only noticed that you're not actually a member of the group just before doing this, but you have to be a member of the group to join the challenges. I wasn't going to change it at the last minute. So I get it, you maybe don't like using Facebook, and I can understand all the reasons why you might not. But maybe if you wanted to get an account, just use it for this. You don't have to use it for anything else. But I just do feel that in the interest of fairness, I guess, for everybody, you ought to be a member of the group to contribute and be part of it. So Annika, thank you for posting your friend's picture. And it's a cracking picture. And I was so disappointed about 15 minutes before doing this when I went, oh, I shouldn't really have chosen that one. But I had to, I did. Elizabeth, it's a great shot and would love to see you be a member of the group and be able to join in a bit more. So, who have we got here? Another really great piece of moody. Why won't this work? Here we go. Ah, yes, from one of our long-time regulars, Jane Kilbride. Again, it's so simple, but it works. You know, a bus shelter at night with a street light and the mistiness. It's a lovely shot. It's a lovely shot. How can you not like it? Exactly, it's like a painting, as you just said, Fleetfoot. But look how Jane's put it together. There's a diagonal thing going on here. You see, we got the light in the bus shelter, which is playing second fiddle to the brighter light of the street light, which is giving off that lovely sort of those rays. But also Jane's got the exposure in just the right place that you can still see the tree, and you've got a little bit of blue in the sky instead of just being blocked up with black. Hey, you're welcome, Jane. Thank you for being here. You've been a member of this group, I think, since day one, haven't you? All the way back, if I remember correctly, you were one of yours was one of the first pictures I think I chose was something in the kitchen, Heart of the Home in the kitchen. That was Esther Suarez, when my photojournalist friend, I think that was you who did that great shot with a flower or something. Anyway, I digress. Lovely shot. But look at these things. We were talking earlier about exposure and being careful with these things. And this is one of those moments. It's like, had the exposure been a bit darker, you may have lost all that sky detail. Had it been, you know, and you'd certainly have lost the tree, but by having the exposure where it is, you've just got that lovely silhouette-y, moody thing and the little pool of light on the street. These are things to watch for, guys. And also, of course, putting it together carefully. Look, the street post is absolutely upright, as is the tree. Wonky horizons, get your camera level and do something. Look all the way around the edge. Last thing you do, you focus, you get all your composition right, and then run your eye very quickly all the way around the edge to make sure something isn't unexpected, isn't poking into the shot, or the gap between the top and the bottom of the post is level and even, because it will save you a bunch of work later. Wow, Jane, this group got you into photography. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. That's quite amazing. That's quite amazing. So, you know, thank you for sharing that with me, and thank you everyone else for contributing, because that's what this group's all about, you know. Wow, I think that's amazing. Thank you, Jane. And as Peter Schmidt says, how can someone not like a bus shelter in the fog? Because we've just been going through some shots of his, a bus shelter in the fog, which he said looked like the gateway to the underworld or something, because he's a very strange man. Anyway, Frank. Sorry, Frank, I can never remember you. I wish I knew where you were and how to pronounce your name. Brensaradi. I'm not going to try any further than that. Beautiful bit of night lights, my friend. I like one of the things I think which I really like. Obviously, you've got a lovely composition. You've got some beautiful lights, and it's a very impressive building. You've got a sparkly moon going on up there in the sky. And all that's wonderful, good stuff. Technically, of course, it is spot on, well composed, well exposed, and all that stuff. I like the path going up there. It's a bit of a leading light. But also what I like as well, look at the light trails from the vehicles. It is very easy to overdo those, to overexpose them, to have them too bright. Frank, you've got this just right, so they're not overpowering the rest of the image. Sometimes there's just too many of them, they get blocked up, layered all together, they're too bright. You've somehow very carefully got this so that those light trails are just helping to draw you in along that curb on the edge of the sidewalk, footpath, pavement, depending on where you live in the world, into the picture. And so technically that's not actually that easy a thing to do. So congratulations, Frank. I think it's a great shot. Frank, the only thing I would say is, and of course this is a personal thing, I don't think the white border adds anything. If anything, I think it takes away from your image. You'd probably like it or you wouldn't do it. I'm just saying me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. So the one which I kept coming back to in the eternal back and forth of which one do I like the most, exactly Fleetfoot, very subtle lines of traffic, you know, movement, blur, light, trail, things. Anyway, the one I kept coming back to, and in the end thought, nah, I've got to go with it. It's from Linda O'Neill. I just think it's a lovely nightlight shot. It's subtle. We've got a definitive point of focus. All these different lights in the different shot windows. The street lights going back up the street. Now, you're talking earlier about lights blow out. Look, yes, the street lights blown out. Lots of those little areas are blown out. But they would. If you were stood there looking at that, they would look blown out to your eye. I think it's a really lovely picture. The other thing is the body language of these two people, you know, the way they're arm in arm, the way they're moving, the position of their legs, their knees, their feet, the position of where they are in the street. They're on the edge of one of those pools of light. Had they been a pace or two further forward in that darker area, they wouldn't really be noticeable, and the image would lose a lot of its power. So great timing there. Plus, of course, is the twilight thing. We've got blue in the sky and not total black. It's quite a dark blue and it works. Even the light from in the foreground here sort of grabs you and leads you back up that street. And I guess you just want to walk down it. So that, I guess, brings us to the end of this evening. Thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. I truly do. If you're somebody who's watching this, you know, you're a part of the group and you haven't posted anything, then, you know, get stuck in, give it a go. Everyone's at different places. Everyone's learning. Everyone's in a new place of their journey. I'm lucky and privileged enough to know some of the world's big name photographers. Trust me when I say every single one of them at some point got hold of a camera and they went, how the hell does this thing work? myself included. I walked into a shop in the town where I used to live, this is the honest truth, and just said, I really want to learn about photography. Can I bug you for a while and just tell me how one of these things work? What do I need to know to get going? And the lovely guy in the shop did that. I actually ended up over the months working in his shop selling cameras. That was my first ever job within photography. So don't take it personally, any of the feedback. If you didn't get any feedback, I'm not picking on you. And I know a couple of people have said, you know, why isn't there a roster and all that? I'm sorry, it's a free group. I'm not going to spend the time keeping a roster of who should get feedback. I'm really sorry. If you want to be sure you get some, then you would need to join one of the paid for groups, or you can take your chances with the free one. Anyway, I wish you all well. Peter Schmidt says, what's that when you got your Nikon? Cool, you have got a memory, haven't you? Yes, my first camera was a Nikon something. Here, if you want, if you've got a moment, I think you will find that my first camera from that time is there. Look at that. A Nikon F3. Absolutely brilliant camera. That is what I bought from that man in that shop ultimately when I used to work for him. I keep meaning to dig it out and have another go at it. Hey Kenneth Caldwell. Glad you enjoyed the challenge. Ava Marie, welcome to you. Yeah, I know, sorry, I said you got to be a member of the group. Ava Marie is the only exception because she's not old enough to have a Facebook thing. She is our youngest member. Best wishes, people. Time to move on. There will be a new challenge launched very, very shortly in a few minutes. And those of you who are signed up to my newsletter will get that with a little story about, honestly, I was tearing my hair out in Madeira. You think I just walk around going click, click, click and it all works. Anyway, be well, take care. I'll see you next time.